the NFL has identified who prank called Deion Sanders and led him on a wild goose chase that for some is just plain fun. For others, it's a fireable offense. Let's talk about who they found out had done it and what they are planning to do about it. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the #1 college football show, welcome. Thank you for joining us here. We talk football year round, so if that is something you're into, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like this video and answer the comment question below, which I think is pretty straightforward. Do you think someone should get fired for giving access to another member of your family to prank call Deion Sanders because you thought that you was cute? So let's walk this back, okay? It's actually in the chair, getting faded up because you'll notice that I was looking a little bit shaggy in the last segment. Went up to the barbershop because my barber cool. He getting out of church. He said, I'll come hit you up right quick. And then this news drops and he says, I got to get you up out this chair because I got to hear what you got to say on this. And I got, people in line over there like, no. Leave him right where he is. I needs to hear this right now. And it's like, hey, let's not go messing up the man money. Let's put him back to work. Everybody go watch it on the YouTubes like they be doing. So I appreciate y'all. Shout out KD for getting me the heck up out of there and getting me back in front of y'all as the people so we could chap this up. So what had happened was Jeff Ulbricht's son. Jeff Ulbricht is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Apparently got a hold of his Boost mobile phone number to Shedeur Sanders. And this is how the Falcons had summed it up before they talk about what action they're going to, enact. Earlier this week, Jax Ulbricht, 21-year-old son of a defense coordinator, Jeff Ulbricht, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number of Shedeur Sanders off an open iPad while visiting his parents' home and wrote the number down later to conduct a prank call. Jeff Ulbricht was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was made aware of, the above only after the fact. The Atlanta Falcons do not condone the behavior. Our sincere apologies to Shedeur Sanders and his family who have been in contact with and to apologize to, as well as facilitate an apology directly from Jax to the Sanders family. Before all this said, they got up on this. One of the things that we had learned is, Jax Ulbricht went on the Instagram to tell everybody what he had done. What he said was, on Friday night, I made a tremendous mistake. Shedeur, what I did was completely inexcusable, embarrassing, and shameful. I'm so sorry I took away from your moment. It was selfish and childish. I could never imagine getting ready to celebrate one of the greatest moments of your life, and I made a terrible mistake and messed with that moment. Thank you for accepting my call earlier today, and I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Let me put it another way. If you work at, let's say, an oil and gas business, call it a business in Tulsa, and you left your phone open with a phone number to call to a highly valued interview prospect for a job, and your child, your 21-year-old adult son, wrote that number down and then prank called that person to tell them, hey, we'll get back to you, but not right now, about this job that you are very much interested in taking. And on the other end, all you get is bewilderment. If that comes to light, what happens to you? Because in any other walk of life, any other business, that's a fireable offense. You left your phone where someone who should not have access to it got access to it. Never mind that we've got lock screens. Never mind that we got two-factor authentication. Never mind that how did this get to a place where you could just peek over the shoulder and get to the iPad? This is also an IT security nightmare, right? This is a security nightmare because these sorts of phone numbers, these sorts of contacts are supposed to be vaulted access. Like, not for nothing, but do you realize how many people would do such a thing if they could get to, say, Patrick Mahomes' phone, or they could get to Jalen Hurts' phone? Do you realize how many people would be upset if this was an owner that someone got to prank call? But this happened to be Shedeur Sanders, which also gets back around to the man is the moment. And I don't understand why so many people are fighting it. Believe it or not, you spent more time listening to people talk about a guy that got drafted 144th overall in the 5th round than you did the number 1 overall pick. You spent more time talking about where Shedeur Sanders might land than you did any other thing over the 3 days conducting the NFL draft. That's remarkable. Even Mike Greenberg gets out here and says, look, I've been following the draft basically since it came on. I've never seen anything like this. None of us have. That is how big this story is. That is how big this family is. And I wrote to this at Fox Sports, and I wish people were paying attention. They're going to be a family that you talk about for a long time. Like, I even had a homie, I told her that Shedeur got drafted in the 5th round. And she sent me a note going, hey, it says here he fired his agent. It's like, no, that's Shiloh. He fired his agent, who's his daddy, and went and unsigned with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he expected to get drafted, and he wasn't. She had misread Shiloh for Shedeur. And then I was like, yeah, well, there's also Shalomi who plays basketball at Alabama A&M. She's like, yo, RJ, you really do this. Yes, I really do this. But that's not the point. The point is people that don't care about NFL, about college football, know Shedeur Sanders' name. And I try to speak to this. I try to tell everybody, your son, your very small 9, 8, 10-year-old son has a favorite player. It might be Shedeur Sanders next year. Nobody's jersey outsold in college better than Shedeur Sanders in the sport. Not in college football, not not one other player. The only player in college who outsold Shedeur Sanders jerseys in 2023 was Caitlin Clark, who was a Nova at Iowa just last year. The idea that the Falcons are not going to do anything to Jeff Ulbricht about this kind of gets under my skin because I feel like someone somewhere should pay penance, and it shouldn't be just this 21-year-old who should, I mean, you can't ground no 21-year-olds, but I that's the other thing. Is this a criminal offense? Maybe, but if I'm the Sanders, am I pressing charges? No, because then I look lame, and I don't want to look lame. And in this position, you're asking Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders to be the bigger men, which is unfair, because if this happened to one of us, this happened to your boy, this happened to me, I'm not just going to laugh this one off. Not in my house. No. How did the Atlanta Falcons get to this position when you knew damn well the Atlanta Falcons were not going to draft a quarterback? They did it last year. They got their guy. Kirk Cousins is trying to find a job right now because he don't want to be backing up Michael Penix Jr. But meanwhile, we can have this sort of thing go on. And I find this really, really frustrating because at the time that this phone call probably occurred, right, we're thinking about another NFC South team taking a quarterback that probably should not have been taken before Shedeur Sanders and Tyler Shuck. Shedeur is a fit for the Saints. It's gone now. It's gone. Doug Nussmeier might be waiting on Garrett Nussmeier next year, who's at LSU, is one of the most prolific passers in the sport, but nobody's going to call him a Nepo baby. Now, are they? Y'all really got to call it both ways on this. And that is why we're out here talking about it, right? It's if this happened to someone else, would you expect him to be the bigger person? You would hope so, because that's what you do with heroes. You put them up tall and you ask them to show humility. You ask them to show aplomb. And you know what? Shedeur has done that. You say what you might about the rest of us, but that's because it feels personal. And he's not in a position to where he needs to be punching back. But that's not what he does either. He doesn't punch back. Not till he starts playing football. And then you see the watch and you see the bling and you see him doing what other players do, even in the UF friggin' L, which is have fun and celebrate when you do well. And somehow it gets under your skin. If nothing else, I hope that some folks look at this and go, all right, that this happened to Shedeur Sanders is one thing. That we've only seen just Jax Ulbricht apologize to Shedeur Sanders while there have been rumors that this happened to others is also one thing. Because I think if this happened to someone who has as high profile as Shedeur Sanders, you'd know about it. If it happened to Travis Hunter, you would know about it. If it happened to Cam Ward, you would know about it. If it happened to Jackson Dart, you would know about it. Talk about a guy that might have to look at the phone like, I don't recognize that number. When the Giants trade up and they select you, you might have had to talk me into it. Like, I've been in that position where you get a phone call from somebody offering you a job and you go, nah, it's too good to be true. And then you hang up the phone, they got to call back, be like, hey, it's really me, and I'm really offering the job, and I would really like you to take it. And you're like, word? But it was the opposite for Deion Sanders. It was the opposite for Shedeur Sanders. And they had to sit there and wait and wait and wait 2 friggin' days to hear your name called. Let alone, right, just how people are making fun of you for choosing to celebrate in your own way. You know, like I'm reading in the comments, folks talking about, hey, he threw a rap party after not getting drafted. I'm like, hey, first of all, are you mad that you didn't get invited? Are you mad that you're not there? Would you have liked an invitation to the legendary? Is that what you wanted? Because I'm sure that if you'd asked, you know, maybe somebody might be able to hook you up. But no, it's how they're getting down. This whole bit about needing to get in somebody's face to tell them that they suck. I can't get there, dog. I keep scrolling. Like, if I don't like what you're doing, I don't like what you're saying, I don't opt in. I don't give it my time. But this is one of those situations where that is what people are doing. They're opting in. They're giving it their time. I think the Atlanta Falcons, who be doing the Atlanta Falcons stuff, had a really great draft class, by the way. Really loved their draft class. But this one's going to linger. This one's going to linger. This one hurts.